Power bills are a fact of life for many in urban and some peri-urban places. But what goes into the bill you pay and how you can work backward to establish the fairness of that bill is what we are looking at in this segment.
Majority of electricity consumers, both commercial and domestic, on the national grid often complain about the ever-rising power tariffs. But how does the Electricity Regulatory Authority come up with these tariffs?
Tariffs are decided by the regulator upon application from different players. If you look at your bill, 100%, Umeme takes just about 20% of your bill. And the rest goes into generation and transmission revenue needs. And that's where the big chunk of the tariff comes from, and it's done on a quarterly basis. The Q2, which is the April-June period, the domestics are supposed to pay 544.9 net of tax for each unit. Then for industries, we have 470 per kilowatt, the average, because there are different rates in there, but the average is 470. The bigger industries is 307. Those are the rates that are subsisting up to the end of June.
And while the new prepaid metering system affords you direct control over your power bill, it takes a while to get to appreciate that fact.
We have two different types of meters. We have a postpaid and a prepaid meter. A postpaid meter is installed when it is at 0. And then you start using and it accumulates a certain number of units, say 100 units. So the way we measure, we get 100 and subtract the initial reading, which was 0. Now, the next month, the meter that was 100 probably has gone to 250. So we will not bill you the entire 250 when the meter reader comes. He takes the reading of 250 and we subtract the previously billed reading of 100. Pretty much like the car mileage. We install prepaid meters initially with 30 units to enable you go through the dark as you prepare to buy. But when you actually buy, the prepaid meter counts downwards. It actually loads the actual units, not the reading this time. You buy 100 units, you load 100 units, and they reduce as you see.
Another key area that consumers might need clarity on is the procedures for connection to the grid.
You pay the inspection fees, the relevant inspection fees. Domestic, it is 41,300 shillings. And then we'll come and inspect and say, yes, you have done the wiring, but your earthing is not proper, or the main switch you used is weak, you're going to need a different one. And then those corrections are made and we come and connect. The beauty in it is that the new connections for domestic that are single pole, where there's no need for a pole, are now free. If you are a simple, maybe juice factory, the inspection fees are 11,800. If you are a factory, that is 110. If you are a big factory, that is 225. Those are the fees that are applicable. And upon payment of those, we come and inspect. We look at your distribution systems and advise which size of transformer you will need, which size of cables you need, and upon payment for commercial enterprises, we do the connection, usually 5 to 10 days.
Government is the biggest spender and provider of contracts to the private sector. But with the establishment of procurement rules, even for those that will compete for contracts, there are minimum expected standards. But if you intend to tap into the biggest monies available, how you get yourself and your company qualified to bid for government jobs or contracts is our focus now.
Government spends billions of shillings in contracts every year, most of which goes to the private sector. It can be lucrative, but there are requirements you must fulfill.
First of all, you must be registered. You cannot win a business with government, with a government institution, if you're not registered. And the law is getting tighter and tighter. In June, if you don't have a TIN number, forget it. No business. See? So you must be registered, you must have a TIN number, you must pay your taxes.
Government has developed a reference list on which you must belong if you are to get government contracts.
You have to go and register with PPDA. This is what they call a list of service or a roster of service providers. So you have to register. If you're not on that roster, then that means that no entity will give you business.
Let's say you are legally compliant. Government contracts can be a snare. Do not bite off more than you can chew.
Look at your capacity. If you are a small company, you have 5 technical staff, don't apply for more contracts than you can deliver. You will not deliver. And if you don't deliver, you'll get a bad name. And if you get a bad name, you lose all your business.
Government contracts can be big money, but may require some kind of internal capacity for your company, because government money is disbursed through bureaucracy.
Sometimes you may have to pre-finance. Government does not pay you up front. Whereas government is the biggest spender and is the biggest client locally, they also have a lot of domestic debt. Don't take out a short-term loan to supply to government when you're not sure when you'll be paid.
We now bring you a story of our week's entrepreneur, and that's a lawyer turned restaurateur.
A lawyer by profession, but a restaurateur by career. How did Chomba Chanda end up on this totally unrelated path?
Graduated law in 2010 from Glamorgan University in Wales. Came back. At the time, I was waiting to get into LDC, so I needed something to do while I was here, and I always had a passion for cooking. So I thought, why not do something catering? At the time, it was the local food. So I started off something small. I was doing food for the offices.
She, however, remained aware of the years spent in law school, but came to realize that at the end of the day, something had to give.
I think it's one of those things where I woke up one day and thought about it, because you do realize a lot of money was spent for me to study law. My parents paid a lot of money for me, and I actually do love law. But there's also a chance where you know what you love to do. I realized this is my only chance. But if I was to do both, one of them wouldn't be getting 100% of me.
Chomba's dreams went beyond just her passion for cooking. She had a vision and game plan to establish something to her name.
I've always wanted to have a small coffee shop, because at the time in the UK, we used to eat a lot of bread, sandwiches, this and this and this. And I realized we didn't have that culture here. So I realized a lot of things can be played with bread. So I wanted to do something like sandwiches, things of that nature, but I realized it would be a challenge, trying to get people to have a chicken sandwich for dinner.
With that dream in mind, she went on to set up her first coffee shop, but that did not go down well as she had envisioned.
Rent was a bit of a problem. It wasn't, I don't know, we were not, because of the distance then, and we're a small little group trying to grow, it wasn't very effective then, so we eventually closed.
That did not stop her. For fear of the total collapse of her business, she carried on with supplying her clientele, this time from the comfort of her home, until she got yet another opportunity to re-establish herself.
It was a friend of mine I've known for a while. I was with her in uni as well, did law with me. She's Kenyan, flew in, joined me, and I don't know what happened. It's like we had the same dream, and yeah, we carried on from there.
Having weathered the storm, she withstood her parents' disapproval, closed and reopened her business. Chomba is now on a path of not looking back and has a great plan for expansion for her business.
God willing, a couple of chandas in a few places, in a few areas. I'm half Zambian, so it would be nice to have a chandas in Zambia. My partner is Kenyan, to have one there would be awesome. Generally, just a chain would be awesome.
From her home kitchen to a fully fledged business, Chomba has seen her restaurant Chanda's grow to where it is today, a factor that she attributes to consistency and just having the right attitude and personnel.
And now is the time for us to take a look at what's happening in the equity markets. And that's it on Money Matters this week. Thank you for watching. But you can get back to us. Text us on 6565. You can also look for NTV Money Matters on Facebook and do the same. Otherwise, I wish you the best for the rest of the viewing on NTV. Welcome to Money Matters. My name is Malcolm Sime. Now, government has come up with a technical team consisting of several government agencies to rectify problems associated with Uganda's fruit exports to the European Union. The move comes after the Trade Ministry imposed a ban on Ugandan fruit and vegetable exports to the EU following quality-related complaints by Brussels. But that's a topic for a little later. And you're welcome to Money Matters. But coming up fast, tips on how you can compete for government contracts, understanding the variables that informs your monthly power bill, and a lawyer turned restaurateur. Fundraising drives or humbees to save our loved ones who could have contracted chronic diseases is not an uncommon thing today. But as this say about Uganda's health care system, both public and private, and its availability to the average Ugandan? Trevor Ariho is the general manager of AAR, a health management organization.
To a number of Ugandans, they find a problem differentiating between you and insurance companies. Help us understand who you are as health management organizations or HMOs and the kind of services that you offer and where you are in the country, Uganda, today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Charles. As a health management organization, as the name states, we manage the health of members. Now, in a layman's understanding, they are right to think we are an insurance company. The only difference would be that our main focus is on medical. That means we've chosen to zero in on that space and not get into the other lines.
In terms of value, what dividends or benefits do you add to your clients or corporate players, or if you like, by extension, the economy in general?
We've got 90% of our book of business being from the corporate world. And it's something that we share with even our competitors and the other players in the industry. We find that our individual books, so people who just walk in as individuals and want health plans and want to get on cover, is still low because of, low understanding maybe, yeah. But what we offer them, be it individual or corporate, is that for a specified amount of money, you will have the peace of mind that when the need comes for me to visit a facility, be it for outpatient, which is the visit to a clinic because of a common cold, because of, simple malaria, headache, yeah, that's what we call outpatient, that you'll still benefit from that.
Let's look at what's happening, the realities today. We've seen a number of people coming up with chronic illnesses or diseases, and we have harambes or fundraising drives done to save their lives. What does this say about the private and the public service system in Uganda? Does this mean a failure to do the service on the part of the service providers, or is a failure on the side of the people who are seeking this service?
Well, is it appreciation? Yes and no. Are we as the players in this market to blame? I would say yes. We haven't let people know that when you're on cover with either AAR or any other insurance company, when you're on cover, at the point of need, we are there. Because now, to the bulk of the people, insurance or medical insurance still remains a far-fetched ideology, something that is extremely expensive, something that is out of their reach. But when I sit down with people, and I do this quite a bit, when I sit down with people and tell them, if you are able to save 1,200 shillings a day, which is less than the cost of a newspaper in this country, you'd be able, at the end of the year, to get a health plan that would cover you the entire year.
Now, going back to the issue of penetration, do you think you've been innovative enough as players in this industry, in this service provision area, to reach out to the people outside the corporate environs?
I think that as the key players in this market, we haven't created a forum where we can come together and discuss issues that will benefit the client, issues around innovation. When you look at the insurance market in South Africa, for example, you realize that there is a very high level of innovation in terms of product, in terms of how can you pay your premiums. Yeah? For example, the laws in Uganda stipulate that medical insurance is a cash and carry business. That means you pay up front, we render a service. In South Africa, you can pay as you go. It's a monthly plan. Yeah? In South Africa, we borrowed one of the innovations in this market, and we are doing it as AR, to say that if a member doesn't utilize in a membership year, we give you back a percentage of your money, which we've termed cashback. Yeah? But that is already working in South Africa.
Look at the environment under which you work, looking at the quality of health facilities that we have in the country, the quality of human resource. Is it to a level or standard that can ensure that you offer the right standard of service?
Uganda is known to be the hub of medicine in this region. Therefore, why we keep sending people to Nairobi Hospital, Aga Khan Hospital in Kenya, India, is only a statement to say that we don't have the facilities that will bring out the brains that we have. Because you even go to Aga Khan and you find Ugandan doctors treating you there. One, I'll tell you, a doctor in Nairobi will earn about 4 times what a doctor in Uganda earns. Yeah? Because they've been exposed to an environment that rewards talent. So a Ugandan doctor will leave Uganda and go to Nairobi, and then will be burdened with the fact that we have to take a Ugandan out of Uganda to Nairobi to be treated by a Ugandan. So in terms of infrastructure, a lot needs to be done in the health industry. Let us bring the Aga Khans home, because we've got the best brains in medicine. In medicine. We carried out a survey and found that 2 out of every 5 doctors at the top in Nairobi are Ugandans. So that is not to say that we don't have the brains. No. It's to say we have the brains, maybe we just don't have the support structures to support those brains.
Thank you for creating time.
Thank you.
Uganda's horticulture export to the European market is estimated at $600 million each year, and that's against an existing potential of $10 billion. The domestic picture, however, remains gloomy, with this week's self-imposed 1-month ban to the European Union of vegetables, fruits, and chilies that will see a loss of $60 million. How this is expected to pan out and impact on this docket is our focus today.
We went and harvested all the pepper that was affected by the moth, and we buried it.
That is the story of one of Uganda's farmers involved in production and export of chilies to the European Union, where government has this week issued a self-imposed ban.
We're trying to ensure that we save face on the European Union market, because once that ban is imposed by European Union, it is going to affect the entire economy. It is going to affect our exporters. It is going to affect our farmers.
The European Union is a market from where Uganda rakes in $600 million annually in export of horticultural products, with a new loss of $60 million expected under the month-long ban.
We estimate a kilo of hot pepper to be going for about £375, And then we have an estimate of about 38 tons of hot pepper that are being exported weekly.
But there remains critical concerns beyond excessive use of chemical inputs at farm level on the horticultural production. The entire value chain is also considered weak.
As we talk now, some farmers don't even know where their products are going. Why? Because the exporters don't even want to reveal. And therefore, farmers produce for the sake of producing, and they are not producing for that competitive European or even Asian market.
According to official figures, correcting Uganda's horticultural export-related flows may assist in reaching a part of the $10 billion global market.
Inspection of all farms shall be undertaken by the technical working group to establish the level of compliance. And then in that 1 month also, the government undertakes the retraining of all farmers and exporters by the technical working group. Inspection of relevant planting materials, including the inspection of fresh produce imported from other countries into the country, should be strengthened.
Even then, a host of the exporters argue that the month-long ban must be accompanied with initiatives that are sustainable on verification of export-bound cargo.
I think the government and inspectors need to assure us more that there is money made available to bring these scanners that the European Union maybe uses. That at the end of the day, we do not only have human eyes to inspect our product, but we have also these infrared, X-rays, scans that at the end of the day, we are safe from making these losses.
But the Uganda Export Promotion Board is on the other hand admitting that scaling up traceability will be the cardinal point on the review program of the new self-imposed ban.
Uganda Export Promotion Board will from tomorrow begin to register all exporters and the farmers working with the MAIF to trace them to their farms, to trace them to their outgrowers, to trace them to their pack houses to ensure that they comply. That is what we are going to do because the ministers have requested that we do that.
This challenge on exports comes at a time when the local currency has failed to gain value against the dollar, trading above 3,000 shillings on average, largely attributed to a very weak export front.